A lot of strange things are captured by Google Earth. After all, Google Earth is a pretty fun tool to use when you're bored and don't have anything else to do. There are actually many people who use Google Earth frequently and try to find unusual and bizarre things. While some things are easily explainable, other things are hard to figure out. You never know what someone's gonna find that's captured by Google Earth satellites. With that said, check out these 5 mysterious events captured by Google Earth. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. The Badlands Guardian, Canada. If you're using Google Earth to take a look at a place called Medicine Hat located in the mountains of Alberta, Canada, then you'll probably find this geoglyph anomaly that looks like an Indian head located 40 miles east of Medicine Hat. It actually has a few names. It's been called the Medicine Indian Head or the Badlands Guardian. And while it looks like something that humans created, this geoglyph was actually formed over millions of years from natural erosion and weathering. The Badlands Guardian was first discovered in 2006, while someone by the name of Lynn Hickox was using Google Earth. The interesting thing is that the residents didn't even know that it was there. And how could they? The only way that you could see it was from Google satellites. When looking at the Indian head from the sky, it appears to be convex, meaning that it's sticking out from the ground, but it's actually concave. All of the valleys around it form a natural drainage basin. If you were standing inside of the drain to the basin, you would have no indication that the surrounding hills form any type of geoglyph. The image of the face is clearly defined. The heavy eyebrows, nose, chin, lips, and closed eyes make it look like something that was man-made. The face looks like it's wearing a Native American headdress, and if you look up above, you can notice what looks like long plumes of feathers sticking upwards from the head. Some viewers might actually think that it looks like the Badlands Guardian looks like it has a pair of headphones on. This is actually a road that has an oil well at the end of the road. There's a word called patternicity, which is defined as the tendency to find a meaningful pattern that comes from meaningless data. This can also be considered pareidolia, where the brain is simply showing us what it thinks we see. In other words, had we never seen a Native American before, then we might not even see anything at all when looking at this location from space. That is certainly a fun thing to consider. Number 4. Atacama Giant, Chile. Many people probably know what hieroglyphs are. These are characters of animals, birds, or things such as objects which are placed together to form a sentence of communication. It's one of the earliest types of writing known to man. In fact, it was the ancient Egyptians who used hieroglyphs. But have you ever heard of a geoglyph? There is such a geoglyph out in the middle of the Atacama Desert in Chile. It is known as the Atacama Giant, which is an ancient artwork that can be seen on the landscape of the desert floor. There are about 5,000 geoglyphs that have been discovered on the surface of the planet, but the Atacama Giant is the largest prehistoric human figure that has ever been found on the face of the Earth, with a height of 119 meters or 390 feet. It's located about 497 miles or 800 kilometers south of the Peru-Nazca lines. The interesting thing about this geoglyph is that it's not painted, and it's also not carved into the ground. Instead, there are dark stones that lay across the desert floor to outline the figure. The geoglyph was actually created by removing soil from the top to reveal lighter soil below. The body of the Atacama Giant is long and narrow. The mouth and the eyes are square, and some would say that it looks like it has the face of a cat. The feet look like they're wearing boots, and the arms are bent. The right hand looks like it's holding a bowl, while the left hand looks like it's grasping a dagger. The origin of the Atacama Giant is shrouded in mystery. No one's sure who actually created the geoglyph. Some archaeologists believe that the geoglyph was built between 100 BC and 700 AD, and they also believe that it's an astronomical calendar which determined where the moon would set. By knowing where the moon would set, these ancient people would know which day it was, know the crop cycle, and the season could also be determined. By studying the moon and looking at the points on the top and the side of its head, those would determine what season it was. This was a very important thing in determining when the rainy season would come to the barren Atacama. The interesting thing about the location where this geoglyph can be found is that there's nothing found for miles around it. Number 3. Nazca Lines, Peru. In the arid coastal area of Peru, there are what are called the Nazca Lines. They're located in an area that measures 170 square miles or 450 square kilometers. Many geoglyphs are scratched on the ground, and they number in the thousands, depicting creatures from both the human imagination and the natural world. Some of the geoglyphs include a killer whale, a pelican, a lizard, a monkey, hummingbird, and other creatures such as a spider. Other geoglyphs include trees, flowers, and plants. Some of these don't resemble anything at all and are simply geometric motifs, such as triangles, spirals, wavy lines, and rectangles. But where did these geoglyphs come from? Carbon dating was done and found the lines date from 200 BC to 250 AD. This was during a time when the ancient Nazca inhabited the region. Some of the earliest lines were created with stones and date back as far as 500 BC. These Nazca lines are one of the greatest mysteries that has intrigued researchers from all over the world. They were first discovered in the early 1900s. However, back then they were simply discovered on the ground. It wasn't until 1930 when an aircraft spotted the lines during a water survey. Some researchers have tried to figure out what the purpose of these lines is. An American explorer named Paul Kosuk visited the plane in the 1940s and said that the lines had some astronomical significance and thought that maybe the area was an observatory. However, another American astronomer by the name of Gerald Hawkins visited the plane in 1968 and used a program to calculate the number of lines. He concluded that Kosuk's theory was just the result of pure chance. Another English explorer named Tony Morrison gave another explanation of the Nazca lines and said the markings were a religious route and were related to religious ceremonies. At the 80th annual meeting of the Society for American Archaeology on April 16, 2015, a study was presented that suggested the ancient people might have smashed ceramic pots on the ground where the lines intersected. The study said that this could have been part of an ancient religious rite. The interesting thing is that extensive research is still being conducted on these lines. Number 2. Blood Lakes, Iraq. There's a lake that's just outside of Sadir City in Iraq. It's near the suburb district of Baghdad. There's been continued speculation since the lake was first seen in 2007 as to what the mysterious phenomenon is. No one knows why the water of the lake turned red, and there never was an official statement released as to why the lake turned red in the first place. Some information received from an unknown source at the time said that there are a number of slaughterhouses that are around this particular lake. Although the story was never confirmed, it was said that the blood from the slaughterhouses is what turned the lake red. The interesting thing is that if you go to the location on Google Earth, you'll see that the water's returned back to the normal color. However, there might be a logical explanation as to why the lake turned red. Lake Urmia, which can be found in northwest Iran, is said to be the largest lake in the Middle East and is typically blue or green in color. However, the lake started to turn red, and it was found that there was a type of bacteria that lived in the lake called Halobacteriaceae. The lake is fed by 60 different rivers and streams, which fills it with high levels of minerals and salts. The previously mentioned specialized bacteria thrive in these extremely salty conditions. When the lake starts to evaporate, the bacteria starts to multiply. The salt-loving bacteria called halophiles can produce pink-red pigments when they're found in abundance. This can turn the super salty water pink or red. So it's very possible that this blood lake in Iraq could simply be an extraordinary salty lake with a high level of these bacteria. This seems like a more likely explanation than the theory of slaughterhouses draining blood into the lake. And if you try to look at this lake now, you'll see that it's its original color. However, that doesn't mean in the future that it might not turn red again. Number 1. A sea monster, New Zealand. Google Earth can be a lot of fun depending on who's at the helm. If it's Scott C. Waring, you're probably in for a really good time. That being said, Google Earth can sometimes be a blessing or a curse. Of course, it's nice to see some amazing satellite images of the Earth, and it's really cool to zoom in and see the places that we live and even places that we've never been to. But there are those people who are constantly finding things such as monsters, sea serpents, ghosts, UFOs, and many other things that look really interesting, if nothing else. Sometimes a lot of these things can be explained. However, that doesn't mean that a lot of people aren't gonna have some fun until the truth is found out. Take the mysterious sea creature as seen in these photos, or what appears to be a very long mysterious sea creature. This unexplained phenomenon was found in New Zealand's ocean waters at the Oak Bay of the Bay of Islands. People thought they were seeing a 40-foot-long sea creature in the Google Earth photos. The photograph went viral, and many people thought that what they were seeing might just be a giant snake swimming through the water. That was until a website by the name of metabunk.org decided that they would have a closer look. Instead of zooming in to see a giant snake, what they found was a boat-like craft on the tip where the head of the snake would be. Because of the relatively low detail level of the satellite image and the haze that was over the water of the bay, the features of the boat or watercraft weren't visible or very clear when you looked at the zoomed-out photo. The black snake-looking thing? Well, there are actually several different possible explanations for the dark trail. One of those is that the watercraft's movement caused an upsetting of the different seawater layers, which altered the water's reflectivity. The other plausible explanation was the boat is actually a jet ski with underwater exhaust, which left a trail of fine bubbles, which again changed the reflectivity of the surface of the water. Still, a lot of fun was had when everyone thought it was a sea serpent. And what good is Google Earth without an imagination? Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, Americano, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so check it out, as well as our other cool stuff.